Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the May 6th meeting of the Milford P&Z. If you could please stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. Thank you, Sue. If you would, please call the roll.
Mr. Agnesi.
Present.
Mr. Alling.
Present.
Mr. Anderson.
Present.
Mr. Hirsch.
Here.
Mr. Collegian.
Present.
Mr. Mortimer.
Present.
Mr. Sadi.
Present.
Mr. Zaharis.
Present.
Chairman Quish.
Present.
And Mr. Macho is excused.
First order of business is vote by July 10th, Milford Health Department. Approval pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 8-24 for relocation of the Milford Health Department. Mr. Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, and City Planner Solkis, members of the board. I stand before you tonight to request your approval for an 8-24 for the City of Milford. The city has currently allocated $4.8 million in American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds to design and create a new building for the Health and Human Services Department, which is very exciting news for the city. As you know, our health department is aged. It's an older building. It's a small building. It's not efficient, and it's truly needs to be rebuilt. And we've identified a location that I think is an ideal location. It's central to downtown, which is at the Wasson Field parking lot where this building will be constructed. It's a 20,000 square foot building. And these funds, as indicated, needs to be expended by the end of December 31st, 2026. So there is a sense of urgency with this. We've most recently asked for a memorandum of understanding to officially obligate these funds so they won't expire. This is money that's very important to the city of Milford, and it's going to be put to great use. And I'm accompanied by our health director, Deepa Joseph, and we've had long discussions, and we've decided that this is the best location for the health department building, and this is the ideal use for the funding. So the space meets the needs of the Milford Health and Human Services Department, which allows the building that I mentioned to be centrally located, making it easily accessible to the public, and makes use of currently owned city property. So we don't have to go out and expend and purchase property in order to accomplish this. This property will be used. It's pre-existing city property. So I'm looking forward to your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions, and Deepa Joseph is here as well to answer any questions you may have in regards to the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Mr. Sadi.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
We appreciate the materials we received, and I appreciate the fact that you have indicated we want to save the taxpayers' money and putting it there. About how many parking spaces are going to be left over? The plans are not complete, but you're losing a lot of parking spaces to use for your municipal employees and whoever comes to the facility. How are we going to handle that particular issue if you thought it through?
Absolutely. Parking is a challenge, as you know, throughout the city, especially in the downtown area. We will be leasing the parking lot from the church So we'll have use of that 365 days a year. And we will also be incorporating on this site plan some additional parking in the rear of the parcel. We're going to pick up additional spots, approximately 20. So we will be able to accommodate for any loss of parking.
Thank you very much. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Mayor Genitazio, will there be any change in the services provided with the new building?
There's going to be an additional services provided, so I'm going to turn that over to Director Deepa Joseph.
Good evening, everyone. In terms of services, so...
I'm sorry, just if you could name and address for the record.
Oh, sorry. Deepa Joseph, 1008 West River Street, Milford, Connecticut. So in terms of the services, we will continue to provide our routine services. We also provide emergency services. And the biggest addition to our services is right now, for those of you who have been to the Health Department building at 82 New Haven Avenue, we have one clinic exam room that's an 8x12 room. So if any of you have ever accessed our clinics, we are often taking our show on the road because we have inadequate space in our building. This building will allow us to expand our clinical services. We just in this past year became an approved biller with Medicare, Medicaid, and a number of commercial insurers. So by having a larger clinic space, it will allow us the opportunity to also bring in some additional revenue through expanded clinic services that we'll be able to provide.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board? Mr. Anderson.
Good evening. So of the combined staff, those that are currently housed on Gulf Street and those on New Haven Avenue, how many employees will that affect?
So that's a total of 19 employees.
19. And what's to become of the space on Gulf Street?
So the space on Gulf Street probably will be used for further expansion of the fire department. That's the most probably logical use to expand the footprint of the fire department, to park trucks and apparatus.
So I'm glad to know about New Haven Avenue. I was speaking about the property on Gulf where Human Services is currently.
Oh, that property, that building, I'm sorry. That building will be looked at to see if there's any needs, future needs for any other departments.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll utilize it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I wonder, Mr. Joseph, if you can talk a bit more about the programming aspect to the building. Your department did an extraordinary job. I think we all are in your debt and your department's debt for the way that COVID was handled. There were a number of opportunities to get tested and to get support, and you're also in charge of the school nurses, is that correct? Yes. So every child enrolled in our public schools, as well as the general public that needed support during some tough times, received it from your department. Plus, just as an aside, I read about those restaurants that need a little nudge in terms of what they're serving and how they're serving it. Could you address whether the public will have access to the building and what type of programming will take place there? Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you for those words. So as you may or may not be aware, just in the past fiscal year, we have served Milford residents from aged 4 months old to 105. So we are really serving everyone in this community with a variety of services. In terms of this building, as I mentioned, we are looking at expansion of clinic services. There will be increased accessibility at this location in a few different ways. So we provide our clinical services, but we also have our environmental health division, which works with, as you mentioned, a lot of our licensed establishments that are regulated. Right now, when these owners need to get permits, or perhaps it's one of the really great events that we have throughout the year on weekends, whether it's Oyster Festival or craft fairs, etc. When people are trying to get approvals for those things, they have to go to Parsons to get sign-offs, and they have to come over to the health department. Having a location that's closer to the Parsons building will make that process a bit more accessible for a lot of our licensed agencies and owners that we work with. In addition to that, one of the great things about the proposed building is that it does allow us drive-through capacity. So again, we provide regular immunization services and clinic services on a routine basis. But when we have larger mass events that we need to respond to, this location will allow us to be able to do a drive-through model where people won't need to go get out of their cars, and it will enable us to get to as many people as we can. So that will be an added feature of this location. The other piece is, and just to give you an idea, because there was a needs assessment, so this, I want everyone here to know, this did not come out of nowhere. There was a lot of thought put into this, and we did have a needs assessment that was done by a third party. And just to give you an idea, based on right now, most of Health and Human Services staff and stuff are really located in 3 different locations because none of the locations on their own can house everything. So currently, we have about 11,781 square feet of usable space between those 3 locations. When the needs assessment was completed, what they came out with was really that in order to do all the things that we do efficiently, we need really over 28,000 square feet, so 2.5 times the space that we currently have. So by bringing human services and health together in one location, we're able to operate more efficiently and give people one-stop shopping for their public health and social services needs.
Thank you for that thorough presentation, Ms. Joseph. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board? Seeing none, I'd hear a motion.
Mr. Quish, regarding the Milford Health Department, I move as presented the approval pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 824 for proposed relocation of Milford Health Department.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Sue, if you would call the vote.
Mr. Agnesi.
With the motion.
Mr. Allen.
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson.
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch.
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian.
With the motion.
Mr. Mortimer.
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi.
With the motion.
Mr. Zaharidis.
With the motion.
Chairman Quish.
I'm also with the motion. Good luck with your project and our project, and thank you. Next order of business is 17 Chetwood Street, Zone R5, petition of Joseph Codispoti for a coastal site plan review to construct a single-family dwelling on map 22, block 456, parcel 51, of which Saltwater Bungalow LLC is the owner. Applicant has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this application, Thomas Lynch, I'm an attorney with the law firm Lynch, Trimbicki & Boynton, and my office is located here in Milford at 63 Cherry Street. And I'm here tonight with my client, Joe Nesteriak, and his wife, who were the owners of Saltwater Bungalow, LLC. The property at 17 Chetwood is owned by the LLC. And I know you have a long agenda tonight, so I'm going to be real brief on this one. This is an application for coastal area management site plan review. Chetwood Street, as we all know, is on the westerly side of East Broadway. Currently, there's some 1,200 square foot cottage, beach cottage, that's located on the site that was built in 1924. I appeared before the Zoning Board of Appeals on behalf of my client in November. We received variances from that board for the expansion of a non-conforming structure. Those were granted at the November 24th meeting of the ZBA, and now we're before you with CAM approval on the house. What's envisioned here is the construction of a new house on site. The current house does not meet the FEMA height regulations. The new house, of course, will be elevated with a garage level on the lower level and 2 levels of living space above, creating a house with some 1,200 square feet. The house is 32 feet high to the midpoint of the roof line, so that is zoning compliant. All of the other zoning regulations are compliant, and I will note that the current house, as I said, is not compliant with the FEMA regulations. This new house will be built at FEMA elevation 13 with breakaway walls to comply with the appropriate zone. So these plans have been reviewed by David and Steve Harris. We come before you normally on these applications with them having pre-screened and approved all the plans. The plans were also reviewed by the city engineer, Greg Podleski. Any conditions, I think there were his usual minor conditions that he noted in his review, and any of those conditions can be a condition of approval. So unless there's any other questions, I'd ask that you approve this application. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'd hear a motion.
Mr. Quish, regarding 17 Chetwood Street, Zone R5, I move to approve with the following modifications the petition of Joseph Cartaspati for the coastal site plan review to construct a single-family dwelling on map 22, block 456, parcel 51 of which Saltwater Bungalow LLC. The modifications would be found in the city engineer's report. That is, there's a number of items, but including the bond, and I think that Mr. Lynch has indicated that he and his petitioner agreed to the modifications.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Sue, if you would please call the vote.
Mr. Agnesi.
With the motion.
Mr. Allen.
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson.
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch.
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian.
With the motion.
Mr. Mortimer.
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi.
With the motion.
Mr. Zaharidis.
With the motion.
Chairman Quish.
I'm also with the motion. Good luck with your new house.
All right, thanks.
Next order of business is a public hearing closed by June 10th, 2025, vote by August 14th, 2025. 0, AKA 214 Cascade Boulevard, Zone CBDD, petition of Thomas Lynch, Esquire, for a special permit to construct a warehouse facility with single-family caretaker residence on map 102, block 807, parcel 6F, of which Cascade Milford LLC is the owner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, for the record, Thomas Lynch on this application. I'm representing my client, Mark Pusey, who's here with me tonight. If the board recalls, at last month's meeting, we appeared before you with an application for an amendment to the Cascade Boulevard Design District zoning regulations to specifically allow the development that we're bringing for you tonight with an application for a special permit. So with the regulation amended, a warehouse facility not to exceed 7,000 square feet in gross area and a single-family caretaker residence on site was approved by this board at last month's meeting. That's what's presented to you on the plans here tonight. So again, I don't think I need to go into great detail. We discussed it at last month's meeting. I do have Ron Wasmer with me tonight to go through the site plan, the specifics of the site plan, but if there's any questions from the board, when he concludes, either for himself or I, happy to entertain any of those. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. For the record, Ronald Wasmer, professional engineer, land surveyor with an office at 158 Research Drive, Milford, Connecticut. Here representing Cascade Boulevard LLC. As Tom mentioned, we're here for a special permit. It's a special permit by virtue of the regulations in the CDD zone. The site plan is relatively straightforward. It's a warehouse, office building, warehouse with an office and a caretaker's residence. I was not at the meeting last month. I don't know how much Tom discussed the site plan, but I'll just briefly walk you through it. It's on Cascade Boulevard. There's a sharp bend in the road there. You can see the building. The driveway kind of enters in the center of the property. There's wetlands to the rear. We've gotten approval from the Milford Inland Wetland Agency. The building is on the easterly side of the parcel. Parking lot is to the rear of the building. We have parking spaces and adequate room for delivery to maneuver around the parking area. We've gotten favorable review from all the various departments, engineering, fire department, police department. All those reports are included in your application material. I'll be happy to entertain any questions you have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Thanks for coming in tonight. I noticed that there's a letter from Deep included with our package here. Could you go over your plans
Sure.
as far as that's concerned?
It was an inquiry with the Natural Diversity Database because there are the wetlands to the rear. There's been turtles. The box turtles was observed primarily when the Ryder mobile home facility was moved from the post road over to there. Extensive studies were done. So the state of Connecticut acknowledges that box turtles were located in the general vicinity within 1,500 feet of this parcel. With that, they have some recommendations as to how to proceed with construction. It has to do with some wildlife biologists walking around the site with the inland wetlands officer prior to construction, establishing a very small, short fence to prevent any turtles from coming onto the site during construction. And that's primarily what that's all about.
So that's only during the construction phase?
Right. Well, the fence will remain, and then there's a retaining wall in the rear, so it's unlikely that turtles will migrate onto this property once construction is done. The applicant has retained a wildlife biologist that will move the turtles closer to the wetlands if they are found in the upland area.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Good evening, Mr. Wassenaar. Is this property located within a FEMA flood zone?
A portion of the property, the marsh to the back is, yes. It's in,
All right, but is it a high-risk flood zone?
no.
Thank you.
Flood zone X is not a high risk, nor is the .2. That's the 500-year flood zone.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, this is a public hearing unless the applicant has another statement.
Yes, I just wanted to add one more point because it was important. Ron brought up that the plans were reviewed by all the city departments. We received approval back in February from the Inland Wetlands Agency, but most importantly, with the Police Traffic Division's review, I assume you all saw the letter. I just wanted to reiterate the fact that Sergeant Craniac had indicated that there will be trees and vegetation removed during construction, and then there's replantings that will be taking place. He made some recommendations as to where those replantings should go to increase the sight line around the curve on Cascade, and we're fully able to comply with that recommendation, and will do so, as a matter of fact.
Very good. You have a further question?
Thank you again. Good evening, Attorney Lynch.
Hi, Bob.
Conditions, and you referred to one, there's a second one about the fire department and the lane markings,
Yes, and that's going to be done during the construction.
and you agreed to that also?
Absolutely, that can be
Thank you very
made a
much.
condition. Yep.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if anybody would like to speak to this issue, please come to the podium. All these people and nobody wants to talk about this particular application. Okay, must be something else. You may make a closing statement then. We're not going to go back and forth. Okay, very good. So without objection, we will close the public hearing. And without further questions, we will hear a motion.
Mr. Quish, I make a motion regarding 0 AKA 214 Cascade Boulevard, Zone CBDD. I move to approve with the following modification, petition of Thomas Lynch Esquire for a special permit to construct a warehouse facility with single-family caretaker residence on map 102, block 807, parcel 6F, of which Cascade Milford LLC is the owner. The two modifications would be contained in the city engineer's report, that if the Director of Public Works waives public side work, it doesn't have to be provided, but if not waived, the public side work does have to go into the public right-of-way. And secondly, the fire department requires fire lane pavement markings.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Sue, if you would please call the vote.
Mr. Agnesi.
With the motion.
Mr. Allen.
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson.
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch.
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian.
With the motion.
Mr. Mortimer.
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi.
With the motion?
Mr. Zaharidis.
I'm with the motion.
Chairman Quish.
I am also with the motion. Good luck with your project. Next order of business is a regulation amendment, 25-2, petition of the Planning and Zoning Board for changes to Article 3, Section 317, Corridor Design District 2, Devon Center, Naugatuck Avenue, CDD2. David, if you would give us an overview, please.
The Planning and Zoning Board proposes to amend the zoning regulations for the Corridor Design Development District to the Devon Center, Naugatuck Avenue, CDD2, to encourage economic development and housing opportunity. The board believes that the proposed change is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the zoning regulations and the plan of conservation and development. The reason the board started exploring changing the CDD2 was, as I just read, to promote economic development and also more housing opportunity. That zone had been identified as being underutilized to some degree. It's an amalgamation of various zones that had been put together back in 2004 into the corridor that we now know today. The proposed regulation change itself, it can basically be looked at sort of through three different lenses. One is to allow single-family homeowners within the zone to convert those houses into some two-family houses, and in some cases three-family, depending on what they currently are. So that's sort of part number one. Part number two allows for a greater housing density throughout the zone, but the regulations as proposed do treat the Bridgeport Avenue differently from Naugatuck Avenue, because Naugatuck Avenue has generally larger less utilized properties. The regulations propose more density and more of a carrot to those who want to provide some affordable units as part of that greater density. The same can be said for Bridgeport Avenue, the difference being that Bridgeport Avenue, the regulations are very strict about the parking, and that any creation of housing on Bridgeport Avenue would also need to create additional parking where the regulation isn't that strict for that on Naugatuck Avenue, because there's also more opportunity with the parcels there to actually provide the parking versus with Bridgeport Avenue.
Great, thank you. So this document has been available for review for quite a while. We have worked on this and worked on the overall concept of creating housing opportunities and affordable and accessible housing opportunities for a few years now. We've had developers come in and talk to us about what makes sense to them. We've had land use attorneys. We've had local groups come in who have done a lot of thought and research on identifying needs and coming up with some ideas on how to achieve some of those goals. The plan for the Regulations Subcommittee is after this is to look at other zones. CDD3 would be next, and look to see if there are any opportunities to try to incentivize developers to put some housing in, and then we'll look at other zones kind of going from west to east. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do echo the comments that you made, and this has been a long process, and it's amazing to see all these people here. I'm assuming many of them for this particular commentary period. I want to thank the members of the board for the diligent work that they have done, and we recognize we're having to strike a balance, which can be difficult. Overdevelopment sometimes is a bad thing, but on the other hand, we have serious problems with lack of housing, lack of affordable housing, lack of places for people to live, and also to have smaller businesses. So hopefully this will be something that we would listen fully to all of you, but I think you appreciate the work that's been done by the board up until this point. Now it's up to the it's up to the members of the public to let us hear their views on what we think we've done right, and if there need to be changes, we thank you and want to listen to you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further comments? At this point, it is a public hearing, so if anyone would like to come up and speak to the issue, please come to the podium. If you would just state your name and address for the record.
Jesse Williams, 130 Mayflower Place. So I really just want to thank the board for proactively taking on this issue. I'm relatively new to town. I really appreciate the thoughtful efforts here and really support a lot of what's being proposed here. The density, I work in the real estate industry. I have covered towns as a journalist around here. I understand a little bit of the issues and the balance that you're talking about, but I really appreciate a lot of the common sense things, especially as was mentioned by Mr. Solkis. The single family to triplex is one of those things that is just, it's common sense. It's being done across the country that really helps with this issue. Lowering some of the somewhat extreme restrictions on density just seems very common sense, and I really hope and appreciate that will do a lot for our town. Again, I don't come out here because I really care about the number of square footage. I grew up not in stable housing for most of my life, and Milford is the first time in my life where I've had stable housing. I have a son. I don't have any plans on leaving. I want Milford to be the place where he can find that, where my family can find that, where people I care about, everyone here can have the kind of housing that allows them to live and thrive. I think this is a great step in that direction. Again, I really appreciate what the board's doing. I support these, and I look forward to more conversations about this. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Roberta Silver, 55 Governor's Ave. First of all, I thank you for all the work that you put in every night and every week for this board. I have a concern. I hear you say you've spoken with developers and land planners, and I always am hoping that you're speaking to neighbors and people in the community to get their input. Because when we talk about affordable housing and increased density, I see all the increased density downtown, but it is not affordable housing. And what we are doing is changing the whole feeling of this town. I want affordable housing. I want affordable housing that is not blocks put up and stuck in the middle of neighborhoods. So I think, again, this might be a great idea, but I get concerned when I hear that the people you're speaking to are developers, because I'm not sure that developers always have the interest of the city at heart. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to be more clear, if I wasn't clear earlier, we did invite a local citizens group on more than one occasion to come in and give their thoughts on housing and where there's a need and where's some opportunity. And then we entertained a mixed-use affordable developer, but it was like maybe 60% was affordable from, I think it was New Haven or Hamden, I forget actually. But so we have done that, and we will, as the whole process continues throughout the town, to always want citizens' input, and we will have that tonight. And if we are enlightened that the project, the plan that we have in front of us needs to be tweaked, we can tweak it right here and now. But thank you for your thoughtful comments. Anyone else like to come up and address the board?
Hi, my name is Teresa Eek. I live at 47 Point Beach Drive, and I do echo the two previous people. And to your point, not all developers are alike. But yes, so that's important. Really appreciate all the time and effort and work that you put into all the things that you're doing, and I appreciate the changes you like to make. The proposal to CDD2 and making changes to a zone is important, and I know you don't take this lightly. It's important to take time to consider the goal. So to that end, All In for Milford's community gathering last Thursday focused on planning and zoning. We had 30 attendees in a church basement on a beautiful day. The group was attentive, engaged, and when they understood the importance of planning and zoning and how it's critical for creating the community we wish to see, they were anxious to participate. They broke into small groups, and they came back with their suggestions, their concerns, and what they want to see in their community. So I'll just share a few of those. I have like a whole page worth. Okay, more trees, green space, more neighborhood coffee shops, restaurants, grocery and drugstores, all mixed with housing, like Europe. That's what a lot of people are saying. More different types of housing that young people can move into, and other housing options. More affordable senior housing. There are so many seniors who are overhoused with nowhere to go that is affordable in Milford. More sidewalks and bike lanes. Wheelchair accessibility on sidewalks and walkways. More missing middle housing. More education needed about housing. Very happy that the board is being proactive with housing and excited that things are happening and that you're on the right track. Okay. By ignoring housing options for different incomes and situations, we are ripping apart extended families that cannot afford to stay in Milford. Somebody said, I'm an independent homeowner now, but I might need some alternative housing that's not offered in Milford today. We want communities to feel healthy and have a checklist for every project. How green is it? How accessible is it? How affordable is it? Prioritize public transportation. Awareness that big buses don't go where people need them. Examples of Eisenhower Park and Wheelers Farm Road that have no bus transportation. A deeper conversation about parking, more ADUs that are detached and flexible sizes, creative ways to repurpose abandoned buildings, protection for renters. Why are there no public bathrooms? That came up. Later this month, I'll close, All In for Milford is going to be hosting a forum in Devon to hear from the neighbors and business in the CDD2 zone. Selah Mosquera Bruno, the State Commissioner of Housing and a Milford resident, will be the featured guest. We look forward to more public hearings and input on your work, and we're happy to share any findings that we have and any information. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Hope you're not here until midnight.
Thank you.
Hi, Sarah Brobley, 27 Norway Street. I am also a member of All In for Milford. We had that conversation with neighbors specifically about the CDD2 district, and I live in Devon. I think I might be maybe one of the few people who are in the All In for Milford group who live in Devon, and I love it. I don't go to Walnut Beach all the time, but I think I would more if it was more accessible and I didn't have to drive and worry about the cars. So like parking does come into play there. And so when we had this dream session of what we'd like this area to be more like, we were talking about like imagining a little Europe where the stores might become more than smoke shops if we were more accessible to walking, and we were talking about how there are creative ways to do housing that don't always change the appearance so much. Right now, there's a lot of congestion on a lot of side streets where my friends live, simply because they're cramming a lot of family members into the houses. So if there were other housing options, and maybe better, more creative, like public transportation, and bike lanes and things like that, and green, just imagine like Devon being like greener, more walkable. Parking might not be such a big deal if people could ride their bikes, if people could, I don't know, just like walk more and get where they want to go. It's such a beachy, lovely community, and it has a long history of artsy vibe. I just think that more conversations about this could be really great. I don't know if we're in a rush to make all these plans, but thinking outside the box for things like ADUs, maybe ADUs that are detached, maybe home sharing, maybe, just like lots of other things that those triplexes could really be helpful. And as far as affordability, when people developers are coming in, I think lots of communities are rounding higher, looking beyond the 10 to 15%. Some are even looking at 30%. Maybe that's a dream, but why not dream big and take our time like this, like you already are doing. You're doing such a great job, and we can take these in steps and do like you're doing and hearing from the public. And I hope that when we hear from the public and All In for Milford, that we can continue to share those things with you and like do some of that work for you. You already work so hard. We can knock on doors and ask questions and do surveys and work with you. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Simon McDonald, 35 Wood Avenue, and I'm a member of the Devon Business Council, president of Walnut Beach Association, so I think this kind of affects where I live. And I just want to say thank you for opening this up, because the more people we get in an area like Devon, the more businesses we can get opened up. And as the director of membership for the Chamber of Commerce, commerce is what I want to help promote, and this sounds like a good plan to get it started. So thank you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan Roth. I live at 57 Crestwood Road. In our 28 years in Milford, my family and I have lived in 3 different neighborhoods, enjoyed the benefits. of living in a vibrant community, rich in history, beautiful beaches, good schools, and unique neighborhoods. I have been to many planning and zoning board meetings, which, believe me, these are words I never thought I would say. But I'm here to tell you I've learned a lot from you, and I appreciate the work, the time, the energy you've put into making our city safe and enjoyable for all of us. Those that have spoken so far in support of the CDD changes have made excellent points. At the end of the day, my key issues are we're talking about whether seniors can downsize affordably, whether young people can stay in the town they grew up in, and whether families of all kinds can live and grow here. When we don't provide options for different incomes and situations, we tear apart extended families who simply can't afford to stay. My personal situation is relevant here because my children who have grown up in Milford are mostly grown. 2 have already moved away. Soon enough, my last child will probably want to move out, and if she does, I hope she can. In that case, my husband and I will have the house to ourselves, a house that could be a home for another family, but as it is, it might be more affordable for us to stay than to move into a smaller place. Conversions from single family to 2-family or 2-family to 3-family, these are real opportunities. We should encourage these kinds of small scale changes, especially if we can tie them to affordability, because this is how we can add housing without changing the character of neighborhoods. And I agree that we should round up to 20% or possibly more if that's possible, but to really support the affordability goals. Again, thank you for your work and for working to build affordable homes in Milford.
Thank you.
Hi, Barbara McIntosh, 12 Sandpiper Crescent. She said a lot of what I wanted to say. I moved to Milford around 32 years ago, and one of the things I loved was that there were multi-generations here. And during the time I've lived here, it's become much harder for older people to stay and for younger people to move in. And I love the idea of expanding commercial space to allow more housing so that we can have people without just using up any of the open space we have and to get some more density and to allow us to keep people here. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, here we go.
Good evening. Andrew King, 32 Cedarhurst Lane. First, let me say, especially since we got such a large room, I want to say thank you for your service to the city of Milford. I don't know if everybody in the room knows this, but these guys do not get paid to do all this, and the city of Milford thanks you for that. 2 things I want to bring up. First, I want to talk about why you guys should probably slow your roll on this regulation change, and also why you shouldn't do it at all. First, the slow your roll part. There's currently legislation going through Hartford concerning 830G, and I would think that it would be premature for us to go and change our zoning regulations to accommodate any kind of affordability component to our regulations without knowing what's going to come down from Hartford first. You know, you might end up putting useless regulations in or put an undue burden on us. And it's not this board's obligation to put regulations into our regs that are not needed. Secondly, I am against this regulation change. And I believe a majority of the people who live in the Devon area are as well. One only needs to look at the response that we got from the project that's going into where the Bridgeport Flyer used to be. Also, the news articles that were written about this very meeting on this topic, the responses on social media were all negative. The neighborhood there is unique. You have a commercial district in Bridgeport Avenue that is surrounded on both sides by single-family residential homes. The constituents, your constituents that live there, do not want any more expansion. They do not want their utilities taxed. They do not want more traffic added to an already bad traffic situation down on Bridgeport Avenue. And they are not looking for you to give incentives to builders to build larger, denser buildings. They're not looking for that. They don't want taller buildings in Devon. They don't want you to give incentives that requires them to have less parking if they give you an if they put an affordability component in. This is what they're not looking for. These are the people that vote for you. Remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Seeing none, without objection, we'll close the public hearing. And we will see if there's anybody on the board that would like to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's been a lot of work on this particular matter, and I've listened to the people that have spoken tonight, and some of you have spoken earlier. I was one of the individuals that was looking for a higher number than the minimum of 15%. On the other hand, this was a bipartisan work by the board, and accommodations had to be made to get a starting point. I also recognize that there are individuals that feel that the density issue may impact the community. On the other hand, we have to strike the balance of density with the ability of individuals to affordably live in this wonderful community that we're in. I'm not happy with every single thing that's in there, including heights were knocked down, and some indications, I think almost all of them were knocked down at some point, but they might be higher than what people want. But I am in favor of this particular iteration of the final proposed regulation change at this point in the proceedings. It doesn't mean it cannot be changed at a later point, but I think then I ask that the board to support a motion, if this is positive, to change this regulation and to start us down the road that I suggest will be better for all citizens of Milford. Thank you.
I'd just like to echo Mr. Sadi's comments. We've gone over these issues that have been presented by the public here, and we take them all seriously, and we've really done a lot of work, and I think we've struck a balance. At least that's our aim. I am also in favor of this regulation change, and just want to put that on the record.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am going to be supporting this motion. I want to thank everyone who came out to give testimony. Just a clarification, my support for this change really is not dependent on the status of 830G. I am supportive of this change because I think there's a major need for housing affordability, as folks mentioned, for seniors, for young people looking to start out, for growing families. This is a major need and one that I think is widely recognized. I'm from the 4th District, which is mostly single family. And before I took office, I knocked on a lot of doors and I asked a lot of people what they thought about affordability. And people had all kinds of opinions, but just like tonight, people recognize that they want there to be options for people. They want their kids to be able to stay in Milford. They want to be able to downsize and not move, 50 miles away from their community. And they want that housing to be strategic. And one of the suggestions that I heard very often was have more affordable housing in areas where you already have some commercial activity. It supports those businesses, like we also heard tonight. I think that this change will be a positive step for residents, for businesses in Milford, and I am happy to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, I just like to just close before we vote and just reiterate that it is CDD2, so it's from the Devon Bridge to McDonald's and it's down Naugatuck Avenue. So it's not affecting Great River, it's not affecting downtown Milford, and we're going to look at each zone to see if it's appropriate to try to accommodate some housing changes, and everybody's voice is welcome. We'll have public hearings, and if there's really an interest, then we can have some charrette or have some public blue sky sessions, so that everybody has a voice, and it's not just the developers and it's not just the board, but it's the community that can help put the target, and then we can, as a board, put the arrow to that target that we all decide. We did have our POCD 10-year renewal, and we do have our comprehensive plan that all talk about the need to constantly look at housing and what the needs of the community are, not just the desires of the most vocal on social media, but the true needs of a lot of different people. So anyway, I've worked on this for a while, as the entire board has, and I'm for it as well. And without other questions or comments, we'll hear a vote. Okay, Ms. Sadi.
This is a motion.
Yeah, we'll hear a motion.
Thank you. This is regarding regulation change, Amendment 25-2. I move to approve as presented. Petition of the Planning and Zoning Board for changes to Article 3, Section 3.1.7, Corridor Design District 2, Devon Center, Naugatuck Avenue, CDD 2. If approved, it's an effective date of May 23rd of 2025.
I second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. So if you would please, if there's further discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I spoke about why this is something that we should do in the city of Milford, and we're relying upon the record that we've had. In the last 2 months, we've had numerous meetings, but one of the things that the members in the public may not know, I'm the liaison to the South Central Council of Regional Governments. So I get to find out what is going on in every other community that's near us, and almost every other community that is near us is taking some step to put in affordable housing with different numbers. And I had asked for 20% at different hearings I've had, and the public has been here, not all of you here, but I look for 20%, and some of them are even higher, but we've reached an agreement of 15%, a minimum of 15%. So I, again, want to put that on the record as to the reasons why I'll be supporting this particular motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Sue, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Agnesi.
Against the motion.
Mr. Alling.
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson.
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch.
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian.
With the motion.
Mr. Mortimer.
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi.
With the motion.
Mr. Zaharidis.
Against the motion.
Chairman Quish.
I'm with the motion.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. If you want to stay for the next order of business, fine. If you want to leave, if you would just do it quietly so we can keep our good pace going. Next order of business is Regulation Amendment 25-1, petition of Thomas Lynch Esquire for a change to Article 5, Section 558, outdoor entertainment decks to allow outdoor music entertainment in the MCDD zone.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Again, on this application, Thomas Lynch, representing my good friend and client for over 40 years, Richard Conine, who's here with me tonight, along with his son, Philip, the owners of the Stonebridge Restaurant. And we have 2 applications before you tonight. We have an application to amend Section 558 of our zoning regulations, and if the board sees fit to approve that amendment, then we've also simultaneously filed an application for a special permit to allow outdoor entertainment at the patio at Stonebridge Restaurant in accordance with the amended regulation. So I'm going to make one presentation to you, but there are 2 applications that have been presented to you for tonight's public hearing. So just by way of a little background, over 30 years ago, Section 558 of the zoning regulations was enacted by the board. It came about because of complaints from folks that lived on the Gulf Street side of the harbor that rock music was being played until late at night on the deck that was constructed on the Old Fibbers Restaurant, which was the precursor to Archie Moore's. And by its own motion, exactly 30 years ago today, or this month, this board enacted the current Section 558. The regulation is located in that section of the zoning regulations that regulate liquor establishments. And to be perfectly honest with you, that regulation has been on the books for 30 years, and Milford is not the same today as it was in 1995. Since 1995, the Yale School of Architecture design plan was contracted by the Planning and Zoning Board. Dr. Plattis came out with a report in 2004, I believe it was, encouraging development of infill residential development in downtown Milford. The Milford Center Design District regulations were enacted in the early part of the 2000s, and we've all seen what's happened over the last 30 years. Downtown Milford has become a vibrant place, and with the construction of the apartments downtown has brought restaurants and cafes, it's brought shops, it's brought a very vibrant downtown business community, and one of the pillars of that business community is my client's restaurant. And one of the great features of my client's restaurant has been outdoor entertainment. And that's been going on for nearly the full 30 years that this regulation has been in effect. And, you know, our zoning regulations are replete with certain regulations that get enforced or not enforced. And I'm not saying that, you know, if there's a law on the books, you ignore it. But on the other hand, with the development of what's going on downtown over the years, Stonebridge has had the outdoor music, and it's been encouraged by city officials. If you look at the zoning file for 50 Daniel Street, there's 2 letters that appear in that file over the last 30 years that address this issue. There were 2 letters in that file that were sent to my client, one in 2007 and one in 2009, saying, spring is here, Rich, come on in and apply for a permit if you're going to have music outside. That was never enforced. And for the last 13 years, there's never been any enforcement of this regulation. And that's the way it stayed until last year. Last year, another business owner, another restaurant owner who's here tonight with his attorney, went into the zoning office and hounded, and I use the term hounded, Steve Harris and Dave Sulkus into issuing a cease and desist order to the Stonebridge restaurant and threatened to bring a mandamus action against the city of Milford if the city didn't do so. So I had discussions with the city attorney, and John Bertram said to me, listen, let's get together and try to resolve this so that there isn't an issue. And what's before you tonight is the regulation that I drafted that I believe will address this so that there'll be no further issue with regard to what goes on at 50 Daniel Street. I've drafted a regulation, and if David can get it up on the screen, I've drafted a regulation that does not give carte blanche approval to someone to have music. It sets forth a vehicle and a mechanism for individuals to come in, if they own a cafe or a restaurant liquor permit, to come into the zoning office and apply for a special permit with reasonable conditions. The second application that's before you tonight is our application for a special permit, and in specifically addressing the other restaurant owner's concern that was articulated to me through his lawyer last year. And the only concern that he articulated was that the bands and the DJs were going late at night, up to 11 o'clock at night. We've drafted in our statement of use a reasonable set of hours of operation and days of operation, and that addresses the concern that the other restaurant owner had at the time. So there's a lot of people that are here tonight that I'm sure want to speak. I drafted this regulation. I presented it to you. I'll let other people speak as to their feelings on it, but I think it solves a problem. It solves an issue My client was served with a cease and desist order to shut down music. He's complied with that order since the letter was written from Steve Harris last fall. There has been no outdoor music. If anyone went to Stonebridge on St. Patrick's Day, you know that after the parade there was always the Rum Runners or some other band out on the patio. That wasn't there this year. My client has adhered to the cease and desist, but we're before you tonight with a mechanism to allow them to continue to provide musical entertainment to those people who really want it, and this room is filled with those people. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board at this time? Go ahead, Mr. Sadi.
Attorney Lynch, if I could ask some questions, please. Thank you. We're talking about the proposal right now. Approximately how many businesses in the MCDD2 would be affected by this change? You're talking decks, and we're adding patios.
I went around and I counted 13 establishments in the area.
Okay.
It's 13 restaurants or cafes in the area.
And how many besides your applicant has music at the present time, if you know?
I think the Cafe Atlantique that's located on Daniel Street has a music, like a trio on the weekends in the alleyway that they rent. That's that portion of the alleyway to the east of the restaurant. I'm not aware of any others.
Okay, thank you. And the last question, which is might be a little bit more outside the box, but I expect you might give us an answer. If we look at the other design districts, there's a number of restaurants in the area. Did you ever look and see how many more might be affected? Because if we could wrap everything all up and get it all done for the whole city, might save a lot of time and effort.
You know, I did, Bob. I did. But first of all, I have only one client that I'm representing here tonight. Secondly, a lot of the CDD zones, as some of the members who spoke on the prior application stated, a lot of the CDD zones border on single-family residential neighborhoods. So that I think if you open up the can of worms to other design districts, that may be an issue. I focused on just the MCDD with this application because, number one, my client has a 30-year history of having the music there and really hasn't generated any disturbances to the neighborhood or reports of disturbances to people outside of the downtown district. But, you know, it was designed to, again, address the cafes and the restaurants just in the downtown district. I did consider, and I have other clients who have restaurants in the other areas, but for this application, I limited it to the downtown district. If there's something that someone wants to propose at a later date, so be it. But the application that's before you tonight it speaks for itself.
Thank you. And you're talking approximately, I think you said approximately 13 establishments, of which you believe only 2 have live music at did have live music at the time.
Correct. And the reason why I went around and counted the number of establishments is because I'm only aware of one other restaurant or cafe who has an objection to music downtown, and I'm sure the other 12 don't. And I see that some of the owners of some of the other restaurants are here tonight, and you'll probably hear from them.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any comments at this time before we open up to public comment? Okay. So this is a public hearing. If you would like to speak to the issue, please come to the podium, name your name and address for the record. Also, I see a lot of people that seem to be for it, and okay to hear from everybody, but I would prefer that if you don't take too long individually, and if you agree with someone but you still want to come up, you're welcome to, and do whatever you want, but I'd appreciate it if it just sort of I agree with something as opposed to 60 people with 3 minutes each. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Ginatasio, 58 Rosebrook Road. I'm here to rise in support of this amendment for live music down at Stonebridge. And I appreciate Attorney Lynch working with the city attorney to draft the best amended ordinance before you. This is a situation that needs to be corrected, and we're here to do that today. As a community, as a city, as a board, I implore you to move this forward. Milford is an entertainment destination. Our downtown, people come here from all over the state. The people that live here enjoy live music. There's a connection to live bands. Whether you play music through a speaker or you have a live band, music is music. And we want that connection. We want that culture. Milford was built on that culture. I remember leaving the Oyster Festival and going to Stonebridge just to see a live band. And that's how it started. And we deserve it. Milford's come a long way. We have a parking garage that's going online that's going to accommodate 160 more parking spots so people can come to downtown and enjoy live music. And I encourage other restaurant owners to do the same. And this will allow other businesses to flourish, to help with the downtown business economy. Milford, the city of Milford, promotes live music. We have a Downtown Milford Business Association who just had a foodie fest with a live band and a stage. Several bands. This is who we are. And we want people to enjoy live music. There's a special connection. And it's not just the young people. It's the older people. I've seen bands perform at Stonebridge respectfully. I've seen families there. I've seen small children come up to the band, interact, dance with the band. That's what this community's about. It's about family. It's about friends. It's about enjoying the pleasures of life. And that's what music brings. It's enriched our community. We've grown. So now, we ask you, we implore you, I ask for your consideration to please move this forward so we can continue on with music. And let's be respectful. We don't want the music to be played too late or too loud. So there's a compromise here, and that's what we do in this city. This brings us all closer together. We're all neighbors, we're all friends. We want everyone in downtown to succeed, whether it's a restaurant without music or a restaurant with music. We're all in this together. So thank you, and I hope that you can please help and make all these people here tonight happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. David, I'm Rich Smith. I live at 59 6th Avenue. I too stand in favor of the reg change for downtown Milford. I grew up here. I remember a time when downtown was not a place you wanted to go. Before the Stonebridge came in and really began the Renaissance, I remember them finding a dead person in the bathroom at the Office Cafe where the Stonebridge stands now. you would avoid that area for obvious reasons. We've come a long way since then, and really led by the Stonebridge and the life and the vibrancy that it brings to our downtown. We've seen it thrive with shops and restaurants, but it had to begin somewhere, right? And it's animated our downtown and turned it into a destination. How many nights I see people getting off the train, young people and families coming from Stamford, coming from New Haven, to enjoy all that downtown has to offer. Our shops, our cafes, our harbor, our restaurants, and our nightlife. And when I drive through downtown at night and I see a line sometimes waiting to get into the Stonebridge, I'm a little old for that crowd, but I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it because that's where the vibrancy belongs. You folks on planning, you get to kind of sketch out what Milford should be. There's a place for this, and it's downtown. I remember the cop in the can. That's how far back I go. I've never been more proud of the energy and vibrancy and the tapestry that makes up downtown Milford. So I implore you to pass this amendment. Let the music continue in downtown. Let the vibrancy and the liveliness of downtown continue to wash over us, especially in the warm months. I appreciate the work you folks do, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is Tracy Bonasconi. I'm a retail business owner located on Harbor Walk at 22 Broad Street downtown. I am also the president of Downtown Milford Business Association. Excuse me. I'm here to speak on behalf of the DMBA in support of live music on restaurant patios in downtown Milford and Stonebridge. Stonebridge is an anchor business in our downtown and a longtime member and supporter of the Downtown Milford Business Association and the work that we do to keep downtown Milford vibrant. There is no summer in downtown Milford without live music on the patio at Stonebridge. It is a beloved gathering place for many and a space for people to connect and have memorable experiences. Stonebridge has always provided a platform for local musicians to showcase their talent. Live music in downtown Milford offers an array of benefits, such as enriching the community, providing economic benefits, and enhancing the overall vibrancy of the downtown area. In the summer, we have live music beyond the library, under the pavilion. We have Oyster Fest, a number of other events, and music on the green throughout the entire year. It's part of who we are as a community, and we support the continuation of that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mark Lofthouse, 56 Wilbur Avenue, Milford, Connecticut. And about 24 years ago, I sat right in your seats. I was also on the board that did the Plan of Conservation Development with Dean Plattis. And while all that was going on, Stonebridge was there. They hadn't grown as big as they are today, but they were there. And we did the Head of the Harbor, which is a great project. And at the time, there was every building downtown, especially along the harbor, was empty, had mattresses stuffed in the window. It wasn't a place you really wanted to go. You didn't think back then that we'd have a downtown we have today. I brought some notes with me only because I'm going to be 64 this year and I don't want to forget anything. But I spent pretty much my entire life either a tenth of a mile or a mile from downtown. I used to live on Maple Street, I live off of Gulf Street, and once in a while I can hear music wafting down the harbor on a Saturday or Sunday, and I like it. It sounds pretty nice. It's a sound of success. Downtown Milford in the 60s was a collection of five and dime stores. We had a movie theater at the time. In the 70s, the growth of the mall pretty much killed downtown. 1980s, that's when the mattresses came out in the windows. It wasn't until the 1990s, and with the investment of Mr. Conine, that, I mean, you wonder, why did he put that money in downtown back then? But he had a vision, and he was the pillar of that vision. And as we did the Plan of Conservation Development, he was there all the time, and that was the vision I'm glad we'll be able to have been part of that committee that brought that vision to life. It saddens me that he should be here defending himself to play music and invite people downtown. No matter where I go, if I say I'm from Milford, oh, downtown Milford, that's fantastic. And it wasn't so fantastic years ago. But without the commitment from Richie Conine, this board, and this city, we wouldn't be here tonight trying to be a champion for a good guy. Not much more I want to say other than I totally encourage you to pass this amendment to keep Milford alive in downtown Milford. Milford is fortunate to have Richie Conine and all the other businesses downtown. I encourage you, don't kill the goose that is the golden egg downtown. Don't do that. Last step here is there's a lot of music downtown. There's a summer concert series by the Rotary Pavilion. 4th of July, we have music. We have the Irish Festival. We have the Oktoberfest that has music. That's all downtown outdoor entertainment, and we encourage that. The other people that depend on your decision tonight are the 150 people that work at Stonebridge. It's amazing that he employs 150 people. There are many businesses downtown that owe their business to Mr. Conine, including the gentleman that doesn't like this music outdoors. You also owe it to every cook, every bartender, every waiter, every band that has come here, every musician. You owe it to every liquor distributor, every food distributor, the guys that run forklifts that all support downtown. It's an economy that needs your help. I remember when Bill Clinton ran for office, he had a sign in his office that said, "It's the economy, stupid." And it is the economy. So I know you guys aren't stupid either. Thanks.
Thank you. Did you miss me? Still Simon from 35 Wood Avenue, still with the Chamber of Commerce. And thank you, Rich, for everything you have done for the Chamber of Commerce, what you've done for Milford. Your restaurant has, later this month, we've got our young entrepreneurs are going to be meeting there. This year, we're going to have our best of party for the 3rd year in a row at the best nightclub in the area. You win it every year, and I don't vote, so. So I just want to say, Rich has always done a very good job of helping the community, beautifying the community, making everybody around him better than they were. So that's all I wanted to come up and say thanks to Rich. And thanks for being a great member.
Good evening, excuse me, Chairman Quish and members of the Planning and Zoning Board. My name is Jeff Matchett, 201 Seaside Avenue. And I live in Milford, proud to say, and I'm a lifelong Milford resident. I was born and raised here, educated here in our schools, served as this city as an employee for many years, and I remain active in our community. My wife Wendy and I are raising our 2 boys, Dylan and Tanner, here. And all 4 of us have worked in the restaurant business at some point. In fact, both my boys currently are employed downtown in this city in a restaurant. I'm here to support the proposed amendment that would allow the live entertainment on outdoor decks and patios and restaurants and cafes in the Milford Center Development District with a special permit. In all my years in Milford, outdoor music has never been an issue. For years, many downtown establishments have featured live music without any problems, all adding to the charm of our great city. So why is this a concern now? I've seen signs at one downtown restaurant opposing this change, but that stance is very, very short-sighted. Allowing live entertainment in Milford Center would attract more visitors, boosting business for all establishments, not just one. This isn't just about the restaurants, it's about the workers. More business means more hours, better tips, stronger livelihoods for people who keep downtown Milford running, people like my family and many others working downtown that I know personally. This regulation is a win-win for everyone. It supports all qualifying restaurants and cafes in Milford, giving them flexibility to enhance their visitor experience while respecting conditions set by this board. Downtown Milford is a destination, thanks to visionaries like Fred Listman with the marina, Bob Smith for all the development he's done downtown, and especially the Conine family for anchoring our vibrant restaurant scene down here. Their work, those 3 guys, laid the foundation for what Milford is today, and this amendment fortifies it by fostering a lively, welcoming downtown for everyone. I urge this board to approve this change. It's good for our business, our workers, our economy, and the Milford that we all cherish. Thank you.
Thank you.
How's it going? My name is Matthew Abbott. I live at 21 Daniel Street. Yes, the Daniel Street. So if anyone's got a problem with Stonebridge, it would be me, but fortunately I don't, because I actually love Stonebridge. The staff there is always so friendly, the security is always very nice. Whenever there's a problem, they handle it very professionally and adequately. The police, if there's police down there, they're always on top of it, so I want to thank the police that are always spending their hours down there to make sure that the area is safe. But I want to support this push for music in Milford. I am so elated whenever I hear there's either a Havana night or they're doing the samba over at the Stonebridge. Whenever I open my window and I hear the Lord of Cello out in front of Cafe Atlantique, I'm always like, I gotta go. And say hi to the folks down at Cafe Atlantique. They're a huge supporter of the arts in Milford, and we have to remind ourselves that it's not just painted arts, it's not just even at Cafe, they had a book signing for someone who just launched their book, but also the music that we have in Milford. And so I'm very much in support of this, to have music in Milford. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, Kari Candelora. I work as the business manager at the Milford Arts Council, and Paige Miglio is the executive director. She's unable to make it, and she's asked me to read a letter on her behalf. She lives at 9 High Street, I'm pretty sure, Milford, Connecticut. To the citizens of Milford, our business and restaurant partners, city officials, and Mayor Giannatasio. Although I am unable to attend this hearing in person, I felt it important on behalf of the arts and culture for our community and representing the Milford Arts Council to bring forward my opinion. Milford has always been a community of creatives, from artists, musicians, poets, actors, writers, and our fabulous entrepreneurs. Small businesses thrive due to our collective vision. Nothing could illustrate that more than the very existence of the Milford Arts Council, as we were forged by the people in answer to a survey from the Office of the Mayor in 1971. Art, and especially music, has been the centerpiece of nearly every outdoor event held throughout the city. Art festivals along the Green, concerts at Walnut Beach and Fowler Pavilions, annual festivals such as Oyster, Irish, Oktoberfest, Porch Fest, as well as fundraising events, because we are the small city with a big heart. And for as long as I have been a resident of Milford, 30+ years, restaurants and bars have hosted live music at their patios and decks. Now that appears to be threatened. I am not going to pick a side here other than to say banning live music would be detrimental to the Milford everyone knows and loves. There is enough division in our society right now. Using the arts as a way of further dividing our thoughts and actions is not appreciated, nor is it at the heart of what the arts mean to us all. I would ask that both parties in this discourse set aside past words for the sake of us all. I ask that the city take a thorough look at the ordinance and find compromises to rewrite its ruling and allow live music within certain parameters to help create a stronger business community while supporting everyone. I thank you all for your consideration. Sincerely, Paige Miglio, Executive Director.
Thank you.
Roberta Silver, 55 Governor's Ave. I'm probably not going to be the most popular person up here tonight. I am totally in support of music of all kinds and everywhere, but I think the most important words that were just uttered by the speaker before me was within certain parameters. And because I heard someone say that this doesn't impact single-family housing anywhere nearby, which isn't true because Prospect Street would hear all this music, as does Governor's Ave on a regular basis. And so I love music, but we don't have parameters here when we talk about the festivals and the special events. Those are special events and they're fabulous. But when I can hear music after 10 o'clock at my house at night, That's not really very comfortable. And if someone is trying to have a quiet dinner at another restaurant that may not have music, and this sound carries over there, that's not comfortable either. You should be able to converse when you're out for dinner if that's what you choose. And if you're in an adjacent property, wherever it may be, and you can't converse, that is frustrating. So my proposal is, volume of said music shall not exceed in the level of normal personal conversation, be moved after the bold where it says in the MCDD zone, and that line be put in there, so that the tranquility of the surrounding areas are not violated. So that is what I propose. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joseph Monsek. I live at 61 Governors Avenue, and I agree with what Robbie said. Pretty much the Sounds of Summer is Stonebridge through the whole summer, from pretty much the whole week into the evening. We hear their music all the time, and we're 3-4 blocks away. So I just don't think it's fair that we have to listen to their music pretty much all the time, all summer. So I agree that we like to have music in Milford, and I don't begrudge people. We have festivals, we have music from time to time, but it's just a constant music going all the time. So I think there needs to be more parameters restricting the number of days, the amount. It'd be nice to have the volume lower, and I'm not sure how that would ever be enforced. And I think Stonebridge they have an indoor space that's a pretty big place, so they can play music inside like at other venues. So I don't see where the music has to go outside. So thank you.
Thank you. David, if you could put up the parameters that were proposed in the next application, just so people can see up on the screen what is being proposed as potential limitations, so that if they didn't already see that, they may be informed by it. And then you're welcome to come to the podium.
My name is David Fernandez. I do own Bistro Basque. I live at 13 River Street. I'm going to try to speak slowly, just so everybody can understand. First of all, I don't have a problem with Stonebridge Restaurant. I own a restaurant. I know how difficult it is. They do a fantastic job. They are extremely busy and successful. I don't have any problem with that. I do have problem when Stonebridge Restaurant becomes Stonebridge Nightclub. And I dare to say that they know exactly that as well. They will not acknowledge by their words, but they will acknowledge by their action. They had live band inside from get-go, and I trashed the place inside. They moved across the street at Daniel Street. They were embarrassed to call it a nightclub, but that's what they did. It brought them problem, and they sold it, and they moved across the street. Back, and the third incarnation is to have nightclubs vibe outside on the patio. The issue is not music. The issue is noise. There is a level to which music is totally acceptable as a neighbor, and there is a level to which noise becomes pollution, becomes a total disturbance. There's only two people that have the courage to speak in spite of the number of people that hear as friends and supporters, and I understand. Richie gave me 3 good advices over the lifetime. And I don't disrespect the man. I have gone through a massive amount of struggles to build what I have done by myself with the restaurant and the building. I think anybody in town, if they don't respect Bistro Basque, they actually respect the work I have put to create by myself, with my hands, the building. I have zero doubt of that. Even the worst enemy that I could have, Richie Conine, is not the worst enemy that I could have. Even Richie Conine, several times, complimented me on that. And I don't believe he was lip service, I believe he was sincere. I take issue with the fact that we have, no, I'm not going to say that right now. Right now, you are listening to an application for a change of regulation about having live bands and DJs outside. You're not listening about the Stonebridge application yet. You're listening about, can we have live band outside and a DJ outside in a downtown? Downtown is a mixed-use area, but it's also a residential area, as far as I'm concerned. When you look at the MCDD, Attorney Lynch mentioned something that is vastly incorrect. Next to the MCDD, if you look at the wallness of the MCDD, next to it, you have residential area. As far as I can explain, as best as I can, excuse me if I'm a little bit nervous, but I do my best, the southern border of the MCDD on Broad Street is the northern border of the Southern Green Historic District. That's residential. So why do I bring that? Because you're studying the MCDD. It's not me versus Stonebridge. It's in the MCDD, are you going to have music outside today and tomorrow, about 30 years from now? Do you know the way I understand the MCDD design of it is that along the green, all the property there are commercial properties, and they all can be turned into a restaurant or a nightclub. It's reasonable. So you, as planners, planning means looking in the future, isn't it? It's not just using the past and ignoring things. It's talking about the future. What can happen? So you have to be concerned of that, just like the two previous persons talk about. So in that line, I want to present to you a property which I have somewhat a connection, and that's 122 Broad Street. Can I give that just so it's being passed around? (122) Broad Street is, I had a conversation with David as an exercise of possibility. Can this building be turned into a restaurant or not? And basically, I'm not going to lie and pretend and think David can interrupt me any moment, but that's a mixed-use building that can easily be turned into a restaurant or more. The back of that property has a parking lot. With David, we can establish that there could be a path. It doesn't have to be automatic, but I'm talking in a planning forward type of situation. This parking lot in the back could be turned into a patio. And that patio, if you allow that, you would be hard-pressed to say, no, you can't have music. Because that's what we are talking about here today. So now I talk with the person that lives next door, John. You can see I have it in the back of it. And basically, he's a patron of Stonebridge, and he has come once to my restaurant. So we had a conversation. I don't like to, as you can see, I'm probably alone, except some people that came on their own, because I don't like to manipulate people. My soul doesn't feel right when I do that. My soul doesn't feel proper if I try to goad them into doing something I want as an outcome, because it becomes my ego, and it's not right for me. It's not the way I live my life. No. So we have a conversation, and we basically bounce ideas back and forth, and as the conversation goes, I explain him that basically this border that is on your property, you could have a patio next door there. Of course, my theory is maybe just that, a theory. But you as planner, you have to be concerned. And as he gets comfortable, at the end of the conversation, you know, like when people feel that they are not being manipulated, and they start to trust you that you are in a respectful, even keel with them, he says to me, by the way, every other Sunday or every Sunday there's a guy that sits on the gazebo and he sings there. And it annoys me, but I close my window and I do my best to ignore it. And that's the guy singing on the gazebo, which is on the other side of that property, on the other side of the street, in the middle of the green. And he even mentioned something about founders, which doesn't really matter. So now, okay, as I put myself to trying to understand the situation in terms of what would be the consequence without restraint, like people have said, well, the fact that you have two zones, one is not for this, the other one is not for that, as you probably know, the sound does not stop there. The sound travels. So of course, as I go through my process, there's a friend of mine that talks to me, and he said to me, you know, he does antique cars shows, and he says to me, you know, a little bit out of the blue, he's doing car shows at Tribus, and he's doing car shows at Dockside. And the guy complained. The guy complained. And he even said, the last word he said, and Tribus, for all that matters, is not even, it's in an industrial zone. But the people that complain were in a residential zone. So now you have that, outside. So in my mind, okay, I feel, well, yes, that's an argument I can give to you. It's, the noise travels, and you don't have to be in the zone, it's going to affect the zone next to it. But then I thought to myself, maybe if there is a complaint on papers, at least you will believe me. So I go to the planning and zoning and ask for the file. Guess what I found? Tribus and Dockside, they are worse in terms of the legal proceedings and that kind of steps that are taken because they are in violation also of the noise. So now I realize, okay, right now I am trying to see if the noise pollution, not the music, the noise pollution is going to spread around the town. But then I realize, no, first is the noise pollution going to metastasize into the MCDD? There is case for that. But now I realize it has already spread around.
Excuse me, we generally have like a 3-minute time limit to speak, and I understand that. No. Please. And please, you know, and another thing, 6 or 8 all applauses, and it becomes 20 or 30, it adds a lot of time. I understand where you're coming from. And David, you will have another chance to speak, but we're going to let other people come up at this point, and you're welcome to come back after.
Okay, can I finish the point though?
No. But you're welcome to come back tonight and finish the point.
My name is Diana Walsh. I live at 91 Stowe Avenue, apartment 304 in Milford. And I happen to be the person who books music for Cafe Atlantique. And we strive very hard to respect our neighbors in terms of the type of music we book and the volume. In fact, my musicians all know me as the volume police. Indoors or outdoors, I'm constantly asking the musicians to turn down the music. And, you know, that's a challenge. As a resident of Milford, I think that there's one thing that has not been addressed here that involves music, but not just music, and that is lack of a noise ordinance. That when I sit outside in my yard, there are times where when motorcycles or one motorcycle or a car with a loud muffler or somebody playing their stereo so loud in their car goes by, we have to actually stop our conversation. When musicians are performing outdoors in the courtyard near Cafe Atlantique, when the motorcycle groups come around, they stop at the traffic light. And for the length of the traffic light, sometimes 2 or 3 cycles of the traffic light, the music has to stop because they're revving their motors and no one can even talk. So I hope that this board would consider not so much whether it's the music that's the problem, but the volume, and instituting some kind of a noise ordinance. You can get a decibel meter on your phone app for free. So there's no reason why that could not be enforced, and I think it would make a difference to music lovers and non-music lovers alike.
Thank you.
How you doing? Bob Stanton, 516 Merwin Avenue in Milford. If you know the address, you realize that I did not move near the train tracks because I don't like trains. I didn't move near an airport because I don't like airplanes. I didn't move by the dirt bike track because I didn't want to listen to dirt bikes all the time. And even then, there's some noise. There's some noise no matter where you are. We're in suburbia and we're pretty close to things like the truck stop, et cetera, et cetera. I can hear 95 traffic sometimes from my backyard. I'm not complaining about the trucks moving product here and there. All I know is everything I know about Milford, as long as I've been coming here and as long as I've lived here, is we're a great town and we have a good time. And downtown Milford is like nothing else. You cannot go to West Haven and find an environment just like the little circle of downtown Milford, the Daniel Street area. Everything is kind of closed off and separated all the way up and down, the main street there, Campbell Avenue. I don't know of any towns around here actually where when you go into the center of town, you really know you're in the center of town. And other than maybe New Haven, but that's a city and we're a little smaller. I enjoy music at Stonebridge, absolutely. I'm not a huge, fan of going out every Friday and Saturday night. I'm more of a boater, so I spend more of my time on the boat. When I'm in Long Island, I have people tell me that downtown Milford is fantastic. It's one of their favorite places to come. They love to come down to Milford Landing. They come here specifically for the environment. I don't see, looking at some of the rules that they've imposed on themselves, if you will, right? Because they paid a lawyer to put it together. I think they're being a little harsher on themselves than they have to. I think that's more than fair, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't accept that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Liz Mahoney. I live at 75 Fenway. I didn't write anything. I just feel pretty passionate and the need to talk. 30 years ago, Richie gave me a job, and I worked for him for 2 decades, quite like many people here in Milford, which helped pay my way through college and beyond. He's paid hundreds of thousands of people through those years of staff. And I saw it go from a restaurant that had no patios and no music outside, with no restaurants in town, or barely anything downtown, to what he built and what his family built, and how it brought the opportunities for all of the other restaurants that are here in downtown to be here, and how it's made Milford what it is. People coming in off of their boats to come to Milford, people coming off of trains from other towns to come to Milford, and to really see what the charm is here. And the music is needed, not only for them, but for their employees, for the musicians that I see back there. Everybody whose livelihood and their family's livelihood depends on the music that this is bringing to our town and to their families. So besides that, as a resident, this is why I live in Milford. I want to walk downtown. I want to listen to music outside. I want to relax after I've been working my butt off for the week, and I think most families do. So I think this is a really great plan they put together. I think it's very fair. I've been to David's place. I love his restaurant. I love his food. But I support Stonebridge and I support the music in Milford.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jeff Einig from 74 Melba Street in the great city of Milford, and I'm here to support this proposed regulation for Stonebridge and for the MCDD district. Now, I prepared a big speech here tonight, and I think most of the stuff's been talked about so far, except for some of the establishment of our tax base and the cultural values that it brings to the city. But you know what? I want to rip this up because, you know, it's getting late at night here, and I know the purpose of this meeting is for the board to hear from the people of Milford. So how about to expedite that, how about I ask everybody who's in favor of this to put up your hand right now so we can hear from the people in a mass mode. With that, I thank you, and I just ask one thing. I think I saw in the paperwork here that this was going to be voted on August 24th or something of that nature. It is summer now. Let's move this up and vote soon. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Candace Mayer. I live at 71 Governors Avenue. We chose to move in here and bought our house in January. If you're not familiar with Milford, Milford's a wonderful town, but the whole world isn't familiar with Milford and what happens at Stonebridge or what happens at other events. So to say that if you choose to live downtown, you want to hear music in your backyard, all summer long is just simply not true. Sometimes we can't even continue our conversations. It's Governor's Avenue, it's blocks away, and you know, we all love music. We want to choose when we listen to music and what we listen to. And when it's amplified at the level it is, whether it's a band or DJ or whatever, you don't have that choice. And it's really not fair to people who aren't interested, especially as you encourage more people to move downtown. It's just not what everyone wants to hear all the time, and everyone isn't familiar with what goes on here. Stonebridge didn't follow the rules before, and I'm curious about how these rules will be enforced now. The other thing, it seems like there's many community events which have music. Lots of them finish earlier than this regulation proposes. The other thing that seems to be an open-ended opportunity is special events and fundraisers. Those could go on and on and on. As anybody who goes to fundraisers knows, you could find one every night of the week. Okay, so I just ask you to think about people who live nearby, who might like music, but also like peace and quiet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dwayne Field, 26 Cork Road. So for the last 17 years, I've provided DJs at Stonebridge. I want to say thank you to Richie for making me feel like family. I'm sorry I'm a little emotional. I just lost my mother. And the one thing that has gotten me through this is music. Music is such an important factor for so many people. And one thing that I've heard from so many people that don't want music is the volume. And the thing that DJs can control is the volume. So it's not that hard. We can turn it down to make everyone happy. Compromise. This world right now needs compromise. We don't need to keep fighting with each other. We can compromise and come to a solution to make everybody happy, and just let's have some music.
Good evening. My name is Juliana Lebecki, 20 Avalon Drive, Connecticut, Milford. I speak as a new resident here. I've only been here a few months. I have heard from people tonight that have been longtime residents, and I originally came here to listen and learn, but I felt compelled to speak as a new resident. I'm 32 years old, I'm young, and I moved from Westchester County, New York. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Westchester, but one of the big reasons why I moved here is because of the sense of community that I have seen since I've been here and before. I came here with friends before moving to Milford, and the first place that I visited was Stonebridge Restaurant, and I think live music brings people together, and as a new resident here, I am in support of live music and of Stonebridge, and I believe that it connects the community, and I look forward to connecting with my community and to experience future events that feature live music and bring music all around Milford, downtown, as cultural enrichment. So overall, I just want to say that Milford has so much charm and beauty, and so far I've met kind people, and it has a sense of community that I very much look forward to being a part of, and live music, I believe, is a part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Sarah Bromley, 27 Norway Street, Double Dipper here, sorry. I am in support of this. I think it's great. But the thing I wanted to bring up is like, there's music and as the DJ commented, that the volume. So I'm just concerned, for example, that, I'm always a mom. Like, I'm concerned for the people who work there, who cannot choose to come and go, and I'm concerned about decibel and hearing loss. So sue me for caring, but I'm just wondering if when you make these decisions, I hope you will pass it, support it. It's happy music. Noise ordinances don't work. They're unenforceable. When I hear noise, I'm like, cool, a party. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to go see if I can join it. But if you're exposed to more than 85 decibels, prolonged times, repeated times, we can choose as patrons to go. But what about the employees who are exposed to this high levels? So I'm just wondering if you can consider looking at decibels and compromising that if need be. Thanks.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is Bernie Pellegrino. I'm an attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm. I represent Mr. Fernandez and his restaurants in regard to this application or applications. Really, I think the only application you can act on tonight is the regulation change, and I'd urge you to deny it. If you were to approve it, you have to approve it with an effective date. You have to publish notice of the approval, and you can't vote on the special permit application until such time, just as you just did with your CDD reg. That application had an effective date of May 23rd, I believe, and you can't accept any applications under that new regulation until you publish notice of the approval and the effective date. So the only application I believe you can legally vote on tonight, even though we've combined the public hearing, is the first application. And that's the application I really want to spend my time on. Also to clarify, we're not really talking about live music, we're talking about outdoor live music. That is the subject of the regulation. And as we all sit here today, outdoor live music is not permitted in the city of Milford, notwithstanding the fact that it's been going on for many years. That has been happening illegally, okay? So we're not trying to ban it, we're trying to permit it because it's not permitted today. That's the application that's before you. I think the application that is before you is not worthy of your approval. For a number of reasons. We talk about studies that you've done in regard to other regulation changes, and I think one of you, it's a little hard for me to see in the back, asked earlier about how many other establishments that currently exist in the zone, the MCDD district, could take advantage of this regulation. the answer was 13, and maybe that one of the other restaurants is currently doing so. You know the town better than I. I think that's probably a good number. Also, upon approval of this regulations, there could be new cafes and restaurants that would like to take advantage of outdoor music. I think that's probably logical because I'm sure the Stonebridge restaurant has been doing very well financially with the outdoor music that they've had on their porch. So I think looking at whether the proliferation of outdoor music in this zone is something that, as a zoning and a planning board, you want to promote without or with only the restrictions that are proposed by this regulation, which I'll get to in a moment. What I think David was also trying to say, if you understood it or not, is that there are two other establishments in town that have been cited for violating the prohibition of outdoor live music in town. And they're in the industrial district and one of your business districts. I don't know if you've done any investigation as to whether this regulation should apply in other zones, should it be townwide, should or should it not, and or whether upon the passage of this regulation, you are going to see other businesses come to you to spread that regulation to other zoning districts. Which brings me to the proposed text change. I think a couple of things. I think, first of all, there are no standards proposed upon which you could entertain and or decide special permit applications that come before you under the regulations other than the tranquility of the surrounding area is not violated. I don't even know what that means. I think it's in your reg today, and that was fine because outdoor live music was specifically prohibited in the existing reg. But if the standard that future special permit applications are going to be judged by you is that they don't disturb the tranquility of the surrounding area, I don't know what the hell that means to me, and I'm not sure how you would ever apply that. I think if you are going to entertain a regulation to open the doors to music legally in other locations other than the Stonebridge, you have to put hours, you have to put days that it can happen. You have to look at, and I'll give you some of the state noise regulations as they pertain to hours of operation between 7 and 10, decibel levels as someone suggested earlier. But if you're going to permit live outdoor music, you need something better than this to approve.
Thank you. And as you know, our standard practice for public hearings is that a participant has approximately 3 minutes. And I'd appreciate it if you have something to close with. You will be welcome to come back after the applicant addresses anything that they wish to address. You'll have another bite at the apple.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And again, if people come up and they're for or against, if you sort of try to keep it short and sweet and just say that you agree with one side or the other. If you have pertinent facts, fine, but for everybody's better good, we'd like to keep it as brief as possible and still let people have their say.
Trista Simoncek, 61 Governors Avenue. And I do appreciate some of the comments tonight. You're setting a guideline for the future. It's not relevant about what Stonebridge wants to do. You're affecting the whole downtown area through this guideline. And it has to be specific. It has to have things that you're going to be able to enforce. And it's not in there today, as it is. We're going to end up in a period, we could have all 13 restaurants downtown banging the music out all night. Who's going to let that go, right? Yeah, That's great for you, not so great for the rest of us that live in downtown. And, you know, I just encourage you.
Excuse me, the crowd, I don't want you speaking to the person at the podium. Show some decorum, or we will clear the room.
So I just think that you do need to think about the future. You're setting a guideline that's going to affect downtown and then the surrounding areas where you do have restaurants that are in more residential areas or nightclubs or other people who would want to take advantage of this. So you do have to put some teeth into this so that it is enforceable. I mean, these hours up here on the second proposal, I mean, that's already in violation and that's not enforced. So, thank you.
Thank you. Without further people coming up, the applicant has the floor. After the applicant, then you're welcome to come up and speak again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a personal comment. I live on Maple Street. I'm closer to Stonebridge than Governor's Avenue. My wife and I sit in the backyard by the pool, and we can barely hear the music from Stonebridge. So that's a personal comment. We don't have noise meters out measuring, but I'm just offering that. And specifically addressing Attorney Pellegrino's comment, this regulation, a lot of thought went into it and a lot of discussion through the city attorney's office and back and forth. The whole purpose of having a regulation that gives discretion to this board is that everyone comes in on a case-by-case basis. And I think that Mr. Fernandez was alluding to some property that was located at the far end of the green, probably near Lafayette Street. And he was speaking to the owner, and the guy next door wouldn't be too happy with music. Well, that portion of the MCDD zone, borders on directly one parcel adjacent to a residential zone. So you could look at that property owner when he comes in, if he wanted to apply for a permit for music, and you can use your discretion. This regulation is drafted to give you the discretion on a case-by-case basis to say whether or not you think that music, if proposed on a certain site, would impede upon the tranquility of the area. So I think Mr. Pellegrino was trying to dance around, legal language, and, I have to say, as lawyers, we all love to do that. But he's reading the last sentence in the proposed regulation, and he's not looking at the paragraph above that says that discretion is given to the board on each application, and standards can be established for each permit. And that's what we've done with our application, the special permit application, is, as you see on the screen, we've set forth a scheme with limited hours. And again, not to belabor the point that Mr. Fernandez's original complaint was that music was going until midnight. Well, as you can see, we've limited to the music, or offered to limit the music on Thursday and Friday and Saturday nights until 9:30, a reasonable time. Sunday Fun Day, when they have the bands on Sundays, Sunday afternoons, limit the bands to be playing until 8 o'clock. So the regulation gives you the discretion to look at each special permit application that comes into you, and that's what I want to stress to you. This is a two-pronged process here. And as I said at the outset, this is not carte blanche. It's not a blank check. It's not a regulation that says, all right, from this day forward, cafes and restaurants in the MCDD zone can have outdoor music. No. It's allowed, or it creates a mechanism for them to come before you with an application for a special permit, which we did, and which you can hear, despite what Mr. Pellegrino says. If the effective date of the regulation is May 20th, or whatever David's saying that the notice date is, well then, if you grant these applications, they're not effective until that date. But we've presented to you two applications tonight, and as I said, the proposed amended regulation allows you to have the discretion to set parameters to somebody coming in wanting music. Mr. Pellegrino also spoke about noise regulations. We do not have a noise ordinance here in Milford. I think we all know that, and I think that's been discussed, and I think that issue is not germane to the argument before you tonight. So other than that, I leave it to your good graces. Thanks.
Thank you.
Are we allowed to ask questions to the applicant and to the opposition?
Well, first, you should finish the public hearing portion. Mr. Fernandez really needs to finish his presentation. So we should get to that first, and then the board, with any applicant, can ask the applicant questions.
But can the board ask someone that's not the applicant? Can Eton ask someone else? No, I think that's what Eton is asking. So no, Eton, no.
Yeah.
David, you're welcome to the podium.
Thank you. Before I start, I would like everybody to understand that it's my livelihood. I cannot do on Sunday or on Thursday fine dining successfully, which means the money I don't make in the summer, I don't have it in the winter to survive. I've been working the last 2 winters full-time. Just because I don't have the money, it went away. My losses are very, very serious. And I like to believe that the people that think I'm doing that just because I'm an annoyance, I hope for them that if their livelihood was challenged in ways that are not fair and not respectful of the regulation, they would stand up for it. And I also like to believe that if that was the case, I would have their back. So please have a little bit of consideration for that. Thank you. I was beginning to say that the other 2 places in 2 different zones have actually the same lawyer representing them. So I was surprised. I said it's probably a coincidence. Or maybe they're not listening to him to basically resist the position of the town. Or maybe they are listening to him, and which developed to a completely different line of thoughts about the respect for the town and its occupants and its citizens. So then I thought maybe after that they're going to come and do an application to you. So now you have to think about maybe you're going to apply to downtown, and you're going to say it's fine, but to your constituents when they come to the other side to present the same thing for another area, what are you going to do? Are you going to disregard it and basically institute a favor of business to one area versus another one? Question for you. There is a very big misconception when we don't say we don't have a noise ordinance. We don't have a noise ordinance in town doesn't mean that there is no noise regulation applying to the city. The state of Connecticut, following the regulation from the federal government, has guidelines and regulation and rules regarding the noise and regarding what are the standards. In fact, they allow the towns to have their own ordinance that can only be stricter, not less, than what the state requires. So it doesn't mean that because we don't have a noise ordinance that there is no noise ordinance applying to the town. And bear with me, the original text that the people that were sitting in your chairs more or less approved in 1995, they used specific words which are, let me read them, that would be easier probably, strictly limited to pre-recorded music, and the volume of said music shall not exceed the level of normal conversation. That is the exact example that they use for the state of Connecticut regulation. The level of conversation is 60 decibels, you can look, I made a copy for all of you. The laws basically says 60 decibel at night or during the day. There is 3 variations depending on the zone, but it's not a massive one. In the paper that I gave you, a rock band is 120. 120 is not twice as much because decibels are actually exponential. That's 16 times louder. 16 times louder. So in other words, when the people tell you there is no noise regulation and they hide themselves behind the fact that the police doesn't want it, it's not very courageous to use that as an argument, in my opinion, but they really ignore the fact that nonetheless there is a context of noise regulation in the state of Connecticut and in most of the states of the country. Which means, essentially, they're asking you to write a regulation. They're asking you to basically go against the text of the law, which precludes to have a rock band and a DJ at 120 decibel when the regulations are 60. So it's up to you. You have that choice to make. But basically, by doing that, essentially, you become accomplice to the fact that you intentionally are going to break the law. Or give, let me rephrase it, I'm not a lawyer, so the technicality may matter, but you get the idea. Technically, they would make you accomplice to actually allow people to break the law and take cover because you signed that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Gigi Caruso. I would like to talk about this decibel thing that has been brought up. 36 Richard
I'm sorry,
Street.
name and address for the board.
Gigi Caruso, 36 Richard Street.
Thank you, sorry about that.
I would like to talk about this decibel thing because I don't believe that we should be policing each other with a little decibel monitor on our phone. And I'm thinking of this because I listened to an interview a while back with the owner of Stonebridge, and he was talking about how in the past neighbors have come and have told them, hey, can you turn the music down a little bit? And he has, and he's worked with them because that proves how much of an active member of the community they are. They care about how people are feeling towards them. They want to be liked. They don't want to cause enemies because they don't want to end up in situations like this where we're arguing about issues that could have just been a conversation to begin with, because they care about fostering a healthy civic community of Milford, and I think that speaks a lot to their character.
Thank you. So, it looks like we have another person, okay?
One more. Mark Lofthouse, 56 Will Bar, Milford, Connecticut. As far as a noise ordinance, that's so unenforceable, it's ridiculous. Our board looked at that many years ago. You're going to have neighbor turning in neighbor. You're going to have kids with a boombox in the backyard. It's just, I wouldn't even go there if I were you. But I do want to address the gentleman who owns Bistro Basque. You know, I go by there and there's always people in his building. He just put a whole new 3rd floor on it. And I guess what I understood, he's adversely impacted, negatively impacted by Stonebridge. I don't see it financially, and I don't see it from the people in his building. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts, because he's such a small area, there's as many people on their way to Stonebridge have walked by there and said, let's go there next weekend. So I think Stonebridge is a draw for everybody. It's an attraction for not only their business, but every business around them. And I remember years ago, Mr. Conine said one time when we were doing the plan of conservation and development that he wants more restaurants downtown. I'm like, why would you want that? That's competition. And he said, because as more restaurants are down here, the more we're going to cross-pollinate, and they're going to attract each other for either your bill of fare or your music or whatever you have. And that's healthy for the area. If you destroy this business here by not having music here, you destroy everything around it. It's a domino effect. The businesses down here were built on his success. He's the foundation for their success. Whether this gentleman here knows it or not, he owes everything in his business to that man sitting right there. Thank you.
I guess the applicant has the last word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been a spirited discussion, and I started my comments out to you at the outset saying that there was a zoning regulation that for years had been not enforced, and because of complaint from a neighbor, the zoning office saw fit to enforce it. So the remedy is come before you and ask to change the regulation. That's what we did. We drafted a regulation that I think is reasonable. It's not verbose. It sets forth a scheme for my client to come in with an application for a special permit, which we've done. Up on the screen are the limitations of the time of operation that he's proposed as part of that special permit application. And I think that the comments that you've heard tonight show that, people really enjoy music in downtown Milford. That's what this is about. And I go to, in my conclusion, to the comment that Bob Sadie said, does this open up, or could it open up for other areas of the town to come in and modify it in the future? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But as I said, I have one client that I'm representing, and the application was proposed to allow music in the downtown zone because that is the area where all of this activity and vibrancy is going on right now. So consider that, and thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Okay. The board has any questions? You ask the applicant.
Well, are we gonna have a discussion amongst ourselves, or are we gonna ask the applicant questions?
You can do, but we do both.
Okay. Mr. Salkis, can you please pull up the proposed regulation? All right, can you scroll up a little?
No, in case they want applications.
Scroll down a little more. I'm looking at a different version. Yeah. All right, right there's good. So under this new regulation, 5.5.8, it says outdoor entertainment decks or patios may be permitted. So I think what Attorney Lynch was saying is that the use of the word may is discretionary language. In other words, it doesn't use the word shall. So it still gives discretion to this board, even if we approve this regulation change, to still have our discretion to whether or not we want to approve a particular application. If you look at subsection 2, it says in the MCDD zone, so now we're limiting it only to a particular zone in the city, not the entire city. Live entertainment, including musical bands and disc jockeys, may be permitted. Again, that's discretionary language. It's not mandatory language. We still have discretion as a board whether or not we would permit live entertainment at a particular parcel within the MCDD2 zone. The question I have, though, for the applicant is, by approving this language, how can we deny any application that comes before us in the MCDD zone?
Thank you, Etan. I thought I alluded to that when I was making the reference to the property at the end of the green located maybe next to a house on Lafayette Street. You may very well get an application from a property owner there and in your discretion say it's not appropriate for live outdoor music to be there. Where my client's located on Daniel Street, surrounded by other commercial buildings, the bands tend to the music goes out towards the center of the town, out towards the SBC area, across the river there. The other side of the river, one of the neighbors made the comment that that is a residential area. That's actually part of the MCDD zone. The MCDD zone runs from the intersection of New Haven Avenue and Prospect Street all the way up to the Gilded Lily when Ms. Flanagan came in a number of years ago and was able to get a change of zone regulation so that she could have a bed and breakfast there. So in other words, the music at 50 Daniel Street may be appropriate. The music at 122 Broad Street, located right next to residences, may not be appropriate. And you have the discretion to decide that.
In other words, each application stands on its own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's drafted that way.
Thank you both. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I have a follow-up. Can you go now to the other?
Etan, you know, I think what we're going to do is there are two separate items. So we are going to take one at a time, and we're going to have a separate public hearing for the next one.
The next one being the special permit.
Exactly.
Right, but I'm focusing right now on the regulation.
Right, but by going to the language in the
The language that you want David to scroll to is part of the special permit.
That's part of your special permit, yes, but that would be a special permit that we as a board may face from other businesses in this particular zone, so
and they may have different parameters. It could be that if we look, Stonebridge had certain days and times, another applicant may come and say, I only want to do Thursday afternoons or something. They may have a different set of criteria, is all I'm saying.
Right, but what I'm saying is, why not incorporate some of that language into the regulation?
That's a good thought, and I did consider that. I think at one point we could be, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the whole flock. After hearing a lot of people's opinions and thoughts, it could be the case that there is a better way to go, and is to follow the way that it was drafted, so that each application is a special permit, and that we can then make individual judgments that may be best site per site.
I understand, but if you're going to limit Stonebridge to music to 9:30, and then Citrus comes in and wants to have music till midnight, we have a problem.
But each application would be a separate application.
Yeah, so we would either approve it or deny it, and then each one stands on its own.
Can I just jump into the conversation?
Irrespective of whatever your opinions are, what is before us is before us. Let's deal with what's before us, and let's not extrapolate to what could be before us. There's enough to do here with what we got.
Okay.
Can I just respond to Eden's question? Because
Yes, you can.
I'm jumping ahead into your head. All right. We got the amended regulation, and then our special permit request, okay? So the way that I drafted the regulation just sets forth the ability for someone to come in with an application, and each application may have different hours or different parameters or different days of operation. All that the regulation amendment does is it allows you to entertain an application for a special permit. So I think that putting parameters in the regulation itself isn't appropriate. I think that it's more appropriate to allow the board to take in a special permit application and then decide each one as it falls on its own merits. Does that make sense? All right.
Any comments or questions at this point, Mr. Satter?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good evening again, Attorney Lynch.
Thank you, Bob.
My questions and comments have really no effect on what I think we should do, positive or negative. A motion is made on this, but I want to go through a couple of things, and you talked about the history a little bit. The section 1 where you're adding patios is pretty obvious.
Correct, because there was some discussion back and forth between the city attorney and I as to whether this regulation even applied to Stonebridge, because they don't have music on a deck. They have their music is on a patio. Is a patio a deck?
But my
splitting
point is,
hairs, but
I don't want to interrupt you, but my point is, I agree. Patio's it's going to cover, as a due diligence, as you've done for many years in front of us, you do your diligence, you do your job. So now we get to number 2, which is in all zones except the MCDD. So that's the proposal that you made that we're looking at today. But
can I stop you there just for a second?
Yes.
That was to not take away the restrictive language of the current section 558.
Right. But the point is, now we've got patios in the MCD district if we pass the regulation change. But what you didn't change is language that says volume of said music shall not exceed the level of normal personal conversation. You proposed that and you kept that in from the earlier language, correct?
No.
No, that's in the language that I'm seeing right now.
No, I'm saying that in all zones except the MCDD, the prior regulation restrictions stay in effect. If you go down to the bold print, it then goes into what would be allowed now in the MCD zone. Live entertainment, including musical bands, disc jockeys, and so forth. So in other words, the top part of the proposed text that's not in bold, that is the current regulation language. Right. So that in all zones except for the MCDD, you're still going to be prohibited to have outdoor music.
Okay, but my reading of this particular language is that in the other zones, according to your interpretation of it, the volume of music shall not exceed the level of normal personal conversation. So if you're not in MCDD,
right,
it's got to be that. Why didn't you address it specifically in your next part of your language, which said you can have live entertainment, musical bands, and disc jockeys? Why didn't you discuss and set forth levels of noise? I understand there's no noise ordinance, and you've heard people now talking about that. Most of the people in favor of music. I'm not suggesting that's not appropriate, but how do we handle the issue of those individuals that feel that the music might be too loud for them, might be bothering them? Unlike you might have at your house where you're not as bothered by the noise, but how do we handle that for the people that have spoken to us?
Because the catch-all is line 3 at the bottom, where it says that the tranquility of the surrounding area is not violated. So in other words, you have the ability to consider each application as it comes in. Tonight you're considering an application on behalf of Stonebridge. Is the live music, bands, disc jockeys that is currently being allowed without legal backing? That's what we're here for. But the live music that's at Stonebridge now, you can make a finding that that does not violate the tranquility of the surrounding area because it's in the downtown zone.
So who proposed that language? Yourself, through your brilliant work that you've done in the past, or in combination with the city attorney and the planner?
In combination with myself and Mr. Bertram.
Okay. So how do we enforce that at any point? In other words, why do we even have it there? How do we enforce that?
Bob, that thick gray book has pages and pages of zoning regulations that leaves Steve Harris and Dave Sulkus on a daily basis to interpret those regulations. So in other words, a live band, a rock band, it's a live band. It's got, how are you going to set decibel levels for something like that? It's left flexible. It's left flexible, but if this board gets an application before it from somebody, again, not to belabor the point, but an application for someone who proposes a live outdoor deck or patio adjacent to a residential zone, you can make the determination that that's not appropriate.
And we may have to agree to disagree, because I think that is faulty for the proposed regulation, because it doesn't give us the authority to make that decision if we ever get to a special permit. But that's just my view at this point. I'm willing to listen
I
more.
think you do, because of the fact that you have the right to turn down a special permit application.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments at this point? Does anyone have a reason why we should not close the public hearing?
Mr. Quish, we've heard a lot of information tonight. I just would not like to have this closed tonight. I think that we need to find out more information on the things we've heard from the individuals speaking for and in favor and against it. That's my view.
I'm not quite sure. If we close the public hearing, we can't take any more information. What are you actually proposing?
Well, I would like to be able myself to look at these different items that are now proposed. The thing that bothers me is the tranquility of the surrounding area is not violated. I'm going to ask there to be some input by the city planner as to what that means and how we can enforce that. So that's why I don't want to close at this point. I think we have more things we have to look at when we talk to the applicant.
Okay. David, if you would please, I'll have, after David addresses Mr. Sadie's concerns, so we have the tranquility of the surrounding area is not violated. So who determines that? Someone who says that their tranquility is violated, they call the police or they call you? How is that taken care of?
The closest, well, the only way we have historically dealt with that, since we don't have, there's no tools at our disposal or standards within the regulations, because as you did hear, tranquility, that's sort of a judgment call. We have always recommended that when people have a noise complaint, to call the police department, and if it rises to the level of disturbing the peace, it's up to them to make that judgment.
Yeah, it sort of still leaves an open gap. I mean, it looks to me like if somebody says my tranquility has been violated, I think that's proof that it was. I mean, that's a declaration that I was peacefully reading a book and now I can't read. So I don't know. There's a gap there. I don't know what we do with it, but are there any other? Oh, Etan, you had something.
Yeah, one of the issues with that phrase tranquility of the surrounding area is that that's been on the books for a long time. So it must have been interpreted, it was put there for a reason, it's been on the books for a long time, and I think we don't need to parse that out for purposes of not voting on this tonight, because I don't know what additional information we need to parse out that language.
Okay.
Can I be heard?
Yep.
Line 3 could be eliminated. Then it's totally up to your discretion on a case-by-case basis to make a determination as to what the applicant is proposing.
Yeah, and I get that. I think the concern is, and we know that everybody loves music and everybody loves music at the Stonebridge, but we are trying to find that middle ground, and I think once we get to the next application, they are reasonable hours, and I think that's a given, but the problem that we have is the potential disturbance of people who don't want to listen to music that live nearby, and we don't really have a way to adjudicate that. And I don't know that we ever will. It's just, it has come up. There are people in the neighborhood that have voiced an opinion that it just becomes...
You mean the 5 people who said it versus the 150 others?
This board...
Well, yeah, I mean, we've listened to everybody. I would appreciate if you stopped doing that, please. But good question, Mark. It could be the case that the 5 people that did speak about it are the only 5 people that live close enough to hear it. So that could very well make a difference. Somebody lives in my neighborhood, I hear music from Stratford. But whatever, it is the case that even if it's 5, it's 5 Milford citizens.
When I drafted this regulation, that line was left in because, again, it reinforces the fact that if someone comes in with an application...
It's not the line, it's the fact that we don't have a way to balance that. I hear what you're saying, and you can remove it.
But you do that any time an application comes in. You listen to everybody, and then you use your discretion.
I understand that, and we're still discussing it, and we're trying to find something that may very well be a little bit better. Brian?
First of all, I think that's brilliant lawyering, offering to eliminate that line. I'd prefer to leave the line in because it gives us some discretion. I think the answer here is that we're talking about 2 things. We're talking about enforcement, which we don't have control over. We're talking about approval, which we do have control over, and that's what we're here to do tonight. So let's leave the tranquility in, and let's do our approval tonight, and not worry about enforcement, which we all kind of agree that we don't have a lot of power over it anyway. The power that we do have is that we can use our discretion and use tranquility, parse the word, each time a new application comes before us, including tonight if you want.
Very good, well said. Etan?
Yeah, I think to that end, I think really the question on the table is whether an individual member of this board wants to have live music in downtown Milford. That's really the essence of why we're here.
Okay, if there are no further comments, we will, and without objection, we'll close the public hearing. And if there's further discussion, we'll do it, and if not, we'll hear a motion. Further discussion? Or motion?
Well,
you can make a motion, anybody.
I'm not making a motion, just a comment. I see both sides here. I remember downtown when the office was the destination, and it was much different than what we have today, and we owe a lot of that to Stonebridge. But we also have to take into account those people who their tranquility may be violated, to use the language of the ordinance. So, and I don't know how we would enforce that. So, just a comment. I'm just trying to sort this out.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think the people have spoken. I move to approve as presented the petition of Thomas Lynch Esquire for a change to Article 5, Section 5.5.8, outdoor entertainment decks, to allow outdoor music entertainment in the MCDD zone, effective date 5/23/25.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, if you would call the vote, please, Sue.
Mr. Agnesi.
I am with the motion.
Mr. Allen.
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson.
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch.
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian.
With the motion.
Mr. Mortimer.
With the caveat that the noise may be a problem going forward, I am with the motion.
Mr. Sadi.
I'm against the motion.
Mr. Zaharidis.
I'm with the motion.
Chairman Quish.
I'm with the motion.
Motion passes.
Okay, so so the next order of business, we'll give them a minute to, those who are leaving, we'll give them a minute to leave before we take up the next.
It's not over. It's not over.
Oh, yeah, anybody needs it.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to take a couple minutes. People can stretch their legs. All right, let's come back in session. Okay, so on the matter of 50 Daniel Street, the thinking is that it will be heard next meeting.
No, June 2nd.
June 2nd.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. If you-
I'm just going to ask that all my comments from this meeting go on to the record for that. I'm not going to make another presentation to you. I think you've heard everything that needs to be said. So that'll be the plan. So.
Okay, well, it will be a public hearing, so if people want to speak, they can speak, and you'll be here to address it.
Mr. Chair, it's also, I'm sorry, it's June 3rd. Our first meeting in June is June 3rd.
Okay. If the applicant agrees, that's fine. And so the next order of business is old business. We have none. Liaison report.
None. We'll have our annual SCROG meeting on Thursday, so I'll report back at the next meeting if we have anything of substance.
Okay, we have 2 minutes to approve, so 3/18/25. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
I second.
Okay, without objection. Okay, 4:15.
I move to approve.
I second.
Without objection? Okay, none? Okay, and we have subcommittee report. I did skip over it. CDD3 regulation discussion, and we're going to have a Zoom meeting on the 28th. David will poll the group to see whether it's a special meeting or a subcommittee meeting, depending on whether there's a quorum or not. So the same discussion is just going to be to look at it for economic development, potential housing options, and we'll see what happens with CDD3. Chair's report. Thank everybody for their patience tonight. And staff report.
None this evening.
None this evening. Without objection, we're adjourned.
Thank you.